If you are a married believer trying to navigate this intimacy thing without shame, go ahead and hit that subscribe button because you are in the right place.
I think that a lot of times we don't know what we don't know, and we don't know how we're going to respond to what we're going to respond to.
Yeah.
Right?
Disobedient child.
Yeah. I was going back to the little girl.
When she even said it and having the justification, I'm like, you didn't hear me though. When I said, this is making me uncomfortable. I'm not there yet.
I would do it again because I know that I'm covered by the blood.
Do not test the Lord thy God. Because we do tend to do that a lot. Mm-hmm. It's not that serious. Mm-hmm. No, it is that serious. It really is that serious.
You can be a bad friend without realizing it, but it's how you respond to situations that makes you a better friend.
It is.
Stop making friends responsible for healing wounds that they did not create.
Base where we tell our truth. Testimony, healing, breaking shame loose. Learning our bodies and walking by faith. Intimacy, God's way, right here is the place. Sex-Ed for Saints, Mondays at 6. We believe in the power of the story. Not just pain, but redemption and glory. Faith in the rhythm, hearts in the mix, trust in educators. Mondays at 6, we're overcoming by the word of these testimonies. People getting free when we speak what's holy. Healing in our hearts, shame starts to split. Every story told, another chain gets stripped. Learning our bodies, learning His way. Intimacy and faith, walking day by day. This is where we heal, where the truth sticks. Sex-Ed for Saints, Mondays at 6.
What's the lesson we will learn today? What's the lesson we will learn today? What's the lesson we will learn today? On Sex-Ed for Saints, it's time to party! What's up, beautiful people? Y'all, I am excited for today. When I tell you, I know we're going to be watching this episode. It's going to be like a couple of weeks behind, right? But we just got out of the podcast summit with David Shands 2026. Let me tell you, it was so good, so good. And it just ended, y'all. I don't even have enough time to, process the information. But I am here recording, getting ready to implement the information that we learned. One of the things that they told us during that session is do not allow the notes that you have to be smarter than you. Listen, that thing hit me because I am a note taker and I am a student forever. And I'm always in the studio taking notes and doing something. And so I'm ready for implementation. I'm ready for next level. But today we're starting that today. And I'm excited to have a guest today, y'all. What's the lesson we are learning today? We're learning a lot. We're talking about friendships and relationships. And are you a bad friend? Are you a bad friend, or is it a trauma response? And y'all, I have a guest today. I have a guest in studio. My co-host, actually, she a guest, but she elevated to co-host because we always recording together. But Coach Larissa Rhone, Coach Rizzy, welcome in the building. What's up?
What up?
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm excited.
I am excited.
I'm excited for this episode. I'm excited to be in the studio recording with you.
My
Listen,
girl elevated.
Elevation. This is what elevation look like, y'all.
She elevated.
When you consistent in something, God is going to elevate you in your consistency. That's another thing that we learned over the conference this weekend. Listen, Rizzy was with me this weekend. That's why we were able to come down here to the studio and record. But one of the things that we always know to do is record something when we are together, because every time, you know how you with your friends and you be like, I need to hit that record button because what we said was so important, right?
That part.
So we're not going to miss no more opportunities not recording. We're going to make sure that we're recording the conversations every single time. And so how you feeling?
I'm feeling
you relaxed?
Excited. Mm-hmm. I'm feeling a bit anxious, but it's a good anxiety.
Yeah.
Because for several reasons. One, I'm here with you. I'm getting to witness your journey in real time. I'm also getting to witness the transformation that's happening with my friend of a few years now. And so seeing all of this and getting to be a part of the journey is just amazing.
Yeah.
So I want to take 1 second to say, girl, I am proud of you. I am so proud of you. Keep doing this. You're doing this. She's the sex coach.
Yeah.
So we're going to have some conversations today.
Yeah, we're going to have some conversations today. And thank you for that. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
It's always a blessing to be able to have people who can walk this journey with you. Rizzy has been around for a minute. We be talking. And, it's one thing when you have friends and you're close. When one elevates, the other elevates. And so she's not far behind me, y'all. She's not far behind. And we're actually going to be talking about friendship today.
We are.
And so let's get to it. And so when we were coming up with the episode, what came to my mind was, am I a bad friend? Or am I acting out of trauma? And this question came up because I was going through a situation where I realized that I was shrinking who I was to allow others to be strong, right? And it was something that I didn't realize that I was doing until I would get into, others' presence and realize, like, wait a minute, why do I feel this way? And so I had to kind of like step back and really, kind of like zone in on focusing and understand, like, hey, what's causing me to shrink? Like, why am I shrinking when I'm in the presence of others who are my friends, right? And it's nothing wrong with the relationship that I have, and like the dynamics that there's nothing wrong with it, but there's something about me that's shrinking. And so when I realized, I was like, man, I believe that this might be a trauma response. And I believe that, not that I'm a bad friend, but when you are responding as a result of trauma, you're doing things unintentionally, and it shows up in friendship. It shows up in relationships. And so I kind of like wanted us to talk a little bit about that. Do you kind of like get what I'm talking about when I say that?
I do.
Yeah.
I do. And it makes me wonder myself, because it's a question I've contemplated over the years myself, the way I show up in any type of relationship, friendship included. It's my levels of withdrawal at time, isolation, all of it. It came off, and I read that as, or question it, am I a bad friend? Or in recent years now, trying to understand more as we're coming from, just being more self-informed and trauma-informed, is realizing, hold up, it may not be that I'm a bad friend. It's just I'm operating from a space of my trauma responses and survival. So
yeah. And I agree with that. Just to give a little bit of backstory, in case you're watching this for the first time, I am a trauma victim, victor, right?
To say that.
Yeah,
yes.
Victor. Because, if you know my story, you know that when I was younger, at around the age of 8 years old, up until I don't even know how old, because, high school, college, all kind of things happen. There was sexual violence involved, right? And so I kind of created a lot of guards and a lot of walls and a lot of things in regards to that showed up in friendships. And so over the years, I could recall like friends that I've had who I was very close with, and, due to my responses, I would back away. I would withdraw in certain situations. I would shrink, for example, of what I just gave, right? I would react. I would always react and respond in ways that when you're analyzing it and thinking about it, it's like, man, like that's not a normal friend would not do that, right? And so, some of the relationships that I have, we're not even friends anymore, right? And it's because of how I respond to situations, just backing away. When you face certain things and it gets to a certain point, you just back away as opposed to approaching the situation, avoid the conflict rather than approach the conflict and deal with it and handle it a certain way. But to the friend on the other side, to them, it might look like, man, she was bad. Like she ghosted me or, she never wanted to resolve this issue or this problem or things like that. And that same element would show up in relationships, right? For me, like I was one of those persons who would not be close to people when I was in relationships. I would kind of like back away, distance myself, or, that's why they used to be like, Tammy's the dude in relationships. It was very easy for me to kind of like back away and withdraw because of the trauma responses that I had. It was my way of me guarding my heart from myself. Yeah. Can you relate to that a little bit?
I can relate to it oh too well. However, one of the things that's coming up for me is just thinking about how other people that we have in our lives and we regard as friends, not only how do they view us as friends, but how are you showing up? But in speaking about the behaviors and the responses, how do you interpret a behavior or a response from a friend? Because you and yourself while they may be acting out a particular way and you're feeling some type of way about it, we overlook that they may have experienced trauma as well, and as a result they're showing up the way that they're showing up.
Yeah.
So it's being mindful of both. As any relationship, it takes two people to tango.
It does.
Right?
It does.
And so you have to be self-aware enough to understand it's not just how the person is responding. What's causing this person to respond this way? Why am I feeling the way I'm feeling to this response? And vice versa. So we really have to be mindful of that, how we're showing up. But as for me, yes, I can relate in the sense that everything you listed, the isolation, the withdrawal, the ghosting, because you feel overwhelmed. And to the outside person looking in, you don't understand it. I've had experiences from relationships from high school, right, where they were interested in doing certain things, and I really found no interest in it. And instead of having conversations about it, I'm starting to feel uncomfortable about whatever the scenario.
Yeah.
And instead of articulating that and saying, hey, this is just not my speed, it's making me anxious, it's causing me some level of anxiety, I'm just like, nah, I'm good.
Yeah.
So it's always leading back to conversations and just having the verbiage to say, listen, this is what's happening to me. And when you can't say that, then what happens?
Yeah. And I can recall several situations because I was always acting out my trauma. When you said high school, it made me think about an incident in school where y'all used to drink a lot. Okay.
I tell you, every time I'm with this girl, I find out something new. Tell me about it.
I used to drink a lot. And so I could recall, one night partying with friends, you know what I'm saying? And my friends was like, you need to stop drinking so much, And it would turn into like, I'm not, well, I used to be like, I'm grown, right? But I wasn't really grown. But, to them, I was grown, right? I used to be like, I'm grown, and then you just continue to drink and you continue to drink. And then, this one particular night, I specifically remember I was so drunk, right? And in my mind, I'm thinking, as it relates to the drunkenness that I am, I still got control, which I had none. I had zero. And I remember thinking to myself, I'm not going to mess with nobody because I'm not sober. I still had that mindset, but I didn't have the capacity to hold it because of the state of mind that I was in, right? And so I remember this one dude, I can't remember his name. I couldn't even remember what he looked like, right? And I remember him asking for sex, right? And I wasn't sober enough to say yes. And so that situation was kind of taken from me. Well, not even kind of. It was taken from me. But in my drunkenness, it was kind of like one of those where, the next morning, my trauma response was to say, we might as well be in a relationship because I just had sex with you. Not even thinking, I wasn't even aware of the sex that I had because I was so drunk, right? And so that's kind of like one of those situations where you don't even put two and two together to say like, hey, wait, I was violated here. And me not listening to friendship, right? Like in that moment, like my friends were like, nah, don't drink. Slow down on the drinking.
But they know you were drinking. So where were your friends during this whole process?
They disappeared, right? They disappeared. And so now it becomes, was I a bad friend because I didn't, you know what I mean? Because what was I drinking for that much in the first place?
Well, you know why you were drinking. You had issues you were trying to suppress.
I didn't know that at that time. I thought I was just having fun.
You know now.
But are they considered bad friends because they tried to stop me and because I kept telling them, leave me alone?
So it's funny how you mentioned Jesus. I thought I silenced this thing. It's funny how, I'm sorry, y'all. It's funny how you mentioned control, because the moment you said it, that's what came up for me. Someone's telling you, don't drink, behave this particular way. You're going to push back because, once again, you may not have the language, but that's what it is. It's coming off as you're trying to tell me what to do, right? And I have control of this situation, which ties back to childhood trauma when your control was taken away. So in every scenario, every situation, good or bad, you feel as if you have to take control of that situation. But were you a bad friend? No. What I would question, though, is the fact that even all of y'all were young, so there's no judgment here. But your friends, knowing that you're inebriated is the word, to be like, listen here, no, we're not doing this.
Yeah.
You know, you're pushing back, but this can result in something that you're going to end up regretting. So let's go.
Yeah. And I kind of agree with that too. But I also have had friends where we were in situations and, you know, on the other side of that, where I'm telling them, nah, stop, you know, and, you know, they are grown.
Yeah.
And because of sometimes the aggression of the way that they come across, it's like, I'm telling you, but because of your aggression, I'm gonna just let you do what you want to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So then am I a bad friend? Like, I don't know. You know what I'm
It
saying?
still boils down to dynamics, right? Because on one aspect, neither of you know your backstories, right? So we're just acting and we're responding. But had we known the backstories as to, hey, this is how I'm experiencing you, the level of aggression is making me standoffish, still boils back into how are we showing up and how are we responding? How are we taking what is being dished? But had you known or been in a different space and had language for it, it's just like, no, I really mean, we need to go because this is not going to end well.
Yeah.
You know, but we pull.
Yeah.
We pull. Yeah.
We pull as friends. And it's kind of one of those, well, when do you know to back up and when do you know to, you know, pull, you know? And I think, you know, our relationship is very unique because, you know, we experienced something before we even got here. And it had to be one of those, am I going to respond out of the trauma that I'm experiencing, or am I going to approach the situation and open up to see what God can do? And I think that a lot of times we don't know what we don't know, and we don't know how we're going to respond to what we're going to respond to. Yeah. And I think what makes the difference is knowing or allowing God to, you know, do what he's going to do, but also you mentioned that self-awareness, right? Is getting a level of understanding to say, okay, I might not know exactly what's going on with you and what your history is, but let me learn a little bit more about that so I can kind of understand why you are responding the way that you are.
So with the self-awareness, it also comes with the willingness to have these conversations because a lot of us still don't feel comfortable in even our friendships. And that's something we have to question. Yeah. Right? And as you said, it takes a level of self-awareness, but it's also learning that, hey, I have to be truthful about who I am, where I've been, what my experiences are, and to let you know, hey, this is my background. So if I start acting shifty, if I start acting funny, please let me know and not take offense to everything because I may show up a bit different. Yeah. Right? So it still boils back to having that conversation no matter how difficult it is.
Yeah, yeah. And, you know, I always like to pull out scripture. And the scripture that I'm looking at right now is Ecclesiastes 4:9-10, where it says, 2 are better than 1 because they have good reward for their labor. For they will fall, one will lift up his compassion. For if they will fall, one will lift up his compassion. And this right here, I think this is a very good scripture that, you know, kind of speaks to, you know, God's design for us to even experience friendship. Because let me tell you, friends are the best relationships to kind of like wean out for relationships. If you don't have good friendships, then you probably won't have good relationships because friendships are the testing ground.
It is.
You know what I mean? You know, just to like, you know, piggyback off of what we were talking about earlier. Well, when I mentioned earlier, the trauma that we experienced, right? There was a process for me and Larissa to be as close as we are today.
Ciao. How much of our business you fitting to tell?
Listen,
well,
let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
Go ahead.
Because as I mentioned, we came from a situation, it was a traumatic experience. It had nothing to do with trauma sexually, but it had to do with trauma as a result of creating a space that was created where vulnerability existed, and that was kind of violated. And I think every person who was on the call that day, we were doing a summit to basically, you know, say it plainly. and the summit just went left. It went left, like way left. And every person who was involved in it kind of like went their separate ways. And I'm not really sure who else connected after, but we kind of maintained a friendship. But it was because of, I was like, okay, there's something here as it relates to us and our stories. And I really wanted to explore that because I was like, okay, our stories connect. Our history connects. What else? Like, it was so many different things that connected.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, God, listening to God, being aware of what he's saying, no, you got to show her that you are not going to be that same person that she met. You're not going to be a result of the dynamics of what happened within the group.
Yeah.
Right? Because that created trust issues for me.
It created trust issues for me on varying levels. So Tammy mentioned briefly about her backstory. So my backstory is similar to hers, as in years of sexual trauma and from close family members. And so trust and the dynamics surrounding that, not just from the perpetrator, but also from the adults surrounding me, my trust have been shattered for years. And in that space, the trigger for me and the reminder where we were all adults. We were no longer, and I'm no longer a little girl, but everyone was acting, for lack of a better word, like children. And the result of that, they may have been acting like children, but my adult brain and my trust issues saw this as this, again, I'm in a setting with adults, and here are the adults behaving this way. I started to feel a level of abandonment and just triggers on varying levels, right? And so as it even pertains to our friendship, and let me tell you something about Grace. God is so good. But as it pertains to our friendship, pulling you in, you're an adult, I met you with all of these women. And so when, as you said, things started to go left, I started to withdraw and to isolate. And how this ties into the pursuing, as in relationships, like intimate relationships, it took a moment or situations where it's as if it was a pursuing. The one was the pursuant, and So and again, I'm grateful for that. But
y'all had to do a lot of digging.
And I was
like, Lord,
withdrawing and isolating. Yes, I really was, because I didn't want any parts of this. So, and but then being on my journey for a few years now, it's also knowing that, hey, it's time. The same traumas that you experience from the adults around you, God and his goodness have been showing me over the years. Adults are going to have to pull you out of this, and it's only going to happen if you open your heart and allow them to. So I decided I'll allow one. Just one. No, sorry.
Just one. Just one. And then the others, we gonna, hey, we gonna say, what's up to y'all?
Keep it moving.
What's up? But I love that. But it's in the intentionality of it,
It is.
And even this friendship to even build, because sometimes I'd be like, dang, man, I'm in my big age, right? Like, who gonna start over with friends? Like this is the kind of stuff that you do when you're younger. When you're free to make friendship. But when you are an adult making friends, especially when you have come from a space where you have been violated, like, friendships are hard. And they're hard to keep because now you're over analyzing everything and overthinking everything. And not realizing that these are trauma responses. And it's going to show up as being a bad friend, especially to the other person receiving, if you are unaware. And so that's pretty much the reason why we're having this conversation today. And so I can kind of, recall times when I have been a bad friend because of my traumas. But it's really on the other side. How do you get to being a better friend? I have an example. So listen, y'all. She gonna laugh at this. She gonna laugh. So let me. So yesterday.
I knew it.
Yesterday, no, I can backtrack.
It started from the day before.
It started from the day before. So y'all know those cars that don't have no drivers, right? They operate themselves. So when we were at the summit, Actually, before we got to
Or
the summit,
heading to the summit.
it was one of my goals, my absolute goals, to get in one of them. Don't ask me why I wanted to do it. I just wanted to get some content and show that I was in a car that was driving itself, okay? And, you know, it was myself, Larissa, and then a couple of other people.
Yeah.
And I didn't know how I was going to do it. I didn't know if I was going to do it, but I knew that I wanted to do it. And so we had made some, you know, arrangements because we had to Uber around. And, y'all, I did not know that they were connected to Uber. So when I ordered the Uber, it was like, we got the driverless cars on the way. You want one? And I was like, y'all, they asked for the driverless cars. They asking if we want to take it. They asking if we want to take it. And everybody was like, no, 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 no. And I was like,
one.
yeah, it was 3 against, and they all older than me. They all my, you know what I'm saying? But anyway, they all my seniors. They ain't seniors, but they older than me. You know, I was the baby in the car.
Well, 2 were her senior,
Yeah,
because
2
2 were in their 60s.
Yeah, 2 in their 60s, right?
Disobedient child.
Yeah,
Anyhow.
I was going back to the little girl. But I decided.
Come on, little girl, tell
but
the
I
truth.
pushed that button and I was like, yeah, let's come. And they was like, what? Cancel, blah, blah, blah. You know? And then it pulled up. And we rode in that thing, and it was the craziest thing because, let me tell you, I don't know if y'all ever tried it. I would do it again. Because I know that I'm covered by the blood.
Do not test the Lord thy God.
It ain't a test. He put them out there. He allowed people the ability to be able to create them so
Y'all
that
hear
people
the
like me can ride them. Okay.
Listen.
But anyways, we rode in it. We rode to the hotel in it, and we got there safely. I'm here today. Thank you, Lord, for covering us on our drive. He sent the angels, because that thing did make a wrong left turn. I am going to say that. And I was like, oh my gosh. And it did kind of like, I don't know if it ran a stop sign.
It did.
But it kind of ran.
It didn't kind of.
Okay, it ran through it. It did
ran
not stop.
through a stop sign.
It did not stop. And so if another car was coming in, you know, people pay attention when you see those cars, because everybody know they on the road, right? So pay attention, because it could run a car. Anyway, so yeah, we did that. And we got there safely, and everybody got content. You know what I'm saying? But listen, on the way back, when we were coming back from the hotel, I didn't plan on riding another one. It wasn't even like a thought, right? But then when I put in the Uber to take us back to our car, and I just accepted it because it was the first thing that popped up.
She did it again.
I did it again. I was like, we're going to take it, because in my mind, I'm thinking, I ain't going to be here all day. I'm just whatever, because I ain't know, right? It was an Uber. So when it popped up, I just accepted it. And so I told her, I was like, the Waymo on this way. And she was like, you know,
really did.
Tell me, what were your thoughts?
That you didn't take into consideration that I said to you earlier that I wasn't comfortable with this the night before, and she went and did it anyhow the next day, right? So I'm just like, okay, how do I tell this girl, listen here, I am not comfortable with this, and I would have liked if you had asked me before you accepted, because I was willing to pay my money, not to have sit in a driverless car, to have it run through a stoplight, turn the corners like someone's driving it that's drunk. That's how it operated. And even though, yes, we got there safely, and I'm grateful to God, I wasn't in the mindset to do this again. And we're out of time.
One of the things that she said, keep going. One of the things that she said was, it's not about that, right? What she had said was, it's about the fact that you didn't give me a decision.
You didn't give me a choice.
Yeah, I didn't give her a choice.
You made the decision for me.
And in my mind, I was thinking, man, I just wanted to get to the car quickly. So when it popped up, I just didn't feel like waiting for another car. Because I didn't know whether or not the next option would have been another one of them, and how long I was going to have to wait for an actual person. And I don't be liking to talk to the Uber drivers anyway. And so for me, the Waymo was a better option, because I don't feel like talking to nobody on the way home. You know what I'm saying? So I was thinking about me solely. And so when she said that, I was like, I apologize for making the decision for you or whatnot. And so in actuality, what I'm getting to is that you can be a bad friend without realizing it, but it's how you respond to situations that makes you a better friend.
It is. And to speak to that point, I took something powerful from that moment yesterday, and the fact that you even, and we didn't even address that, so let me address it now. The fact that you apologized, because she's right. What I felt in that moment was you just made a decision for me without telling me after I did say to you, I'm not comfortable with this. And truth is, for many reasons, you know, I've fought for my life to be here, and I'm just not going to give it up to a driverless car just for content, you know, or any of the excitement. It's not that exciting to me, but it still boils down to the fact that the choice was taken away from me. However, to speak about growth and being self-aware enough to have the conversation, because I ain't going to front. Larissa before would have been like, okay, when I get on this plane Sunday, it's deuces, you know? I would not have had that conversation. I would just been like, okay, so you considered yourself in all of this. You didn't even give me, so I'm cool.
Yeah.
You know? But the mere fact that I was even amazed at myself to say to you, know what I'm feeling, and to give her credit because she kept asking. And he said, honestly, I felt like you made a choice for me. You made a decision for me without giving me a choice in this situation. And she apologized. So it speaks for growth, because after she apologized, I was just like, okay, so I guess we have another shot at this. No, so I wasn't that serious, but that's where my mind went, in all honesty, because again, that control thing, it's feeling this is how deep it gets for us sometimes.
Exactly.
Because in my head, you just took the control away and just did what you wanted to do.
Yeah.
Right? No considerations given to, or even talk to me prior to making the decision. And so the apology and the awareness made it, you know, we diffused the situation. We good.
Yeah,
She's
we
still
good.
my friend.
And I think that's important to understand as well,
Yeah.
because, you know, my ability to make the decision for her took away control. And where do you think her mind goes back to? Right? It's not about that situation. It's about I was taking control of in this particular area of my life, right? But because I have that level of awareness, I'm able to apologize.
Yeah.
But when you don't have that level of awareness, you're just thinking, it's just an Uber.
And it's the level of awareness, but also the willingness to talk through it,
That
you
too.
know, because it's uncomfortable to say that.
Yeah.
And it could have been that it's just like, oh, well, you're making a big deal out of nothing. Because we do tend to do that a lot. It's not that serious. No, it is that serious. It really is that serious. And if you are not self-aware and bold enough to say, Tammy, I really did not appreciate that, and say exactly what it is. Again, it could have gone left again, because it's just
Y'all should have seen it. She was like,
I was fighting so
I know.
hard for my life to be like,
you know?
but yeah. But
And I could have been like, calm down, girl.
no, because at one point she said, "Oh, so this was her reasoning." Well, we got there safe the night before. Yeah, but I don't feel like testing faith a second time.
Yeah.
You know, fate rather. And so when she even said it and having the justification, I'm like, you didn't hear me though when I said, this is making me uncomfortable. I'm not there yet. So being able to have that conversation as two adult women, because we have a tendency, well, just adults, period. It's just like, you're making a big deal out of nothing. No, it's not nothing to me. And it means something different to her. But being able to have that conversation, and as you said, bring it back to, because you didn't understand, this is you doing this thing that there's so much more attached to this. You're putting me in a situation, or you place me in a situation where it's just like, you didn't respect what I said. And so now it feels like another sense. It didn't get that deep, but it feels like a violation. You didn't listen to me.
Right.
And so it had the potential to end in a different way. But that's what self-awareness and having difficult conversations creates, which is why we're still here, because we've had some things that we had to go through, right? And it's that push and pull and being vulnerable enough to say, girl, yeah, I'm not comfortable with that. And
Absolutely.
to be heard.
And to be heard.
Yeah.
And I love the conversation with that. And really quickly, before we wrap it up, I want to talk a little bit about, you know, how to fix, you know, the trauma issues that you have. And I want to kind of like pull from, you know, the notes that we had taken. And so when trauma, and let me also say this, that, you know, people who experience sexual trauma, they have very similar patterns that they do. And you can experience other types of trauma and still have the same type of
Very
patterns,
much so.
right? But we're speaking specifically to the ones that we've experienced. And so for some of those, you know, a response could be, you know, either oversharing or being vulnerable, being too vulnerable, right? Without vetting the person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's like you're vomiting. Just, I didn't ask for all of that. You're just constantly opening your mouth and saying things that you need not say, that the person is probably not ready for.
Exactly. And so for somebody whose response is that, you know, they might share too quickly. And the reason why they're doing it is because they're longing, looking to belong, looking for a space because they're being emotionally led. And that's kind of like dangerous, because if you get into a friendship or even a relationship, then you become dependent on that person. Yes. And so that's kind of like one of the areas of where, you know, how you would respond. How to fix that is to kind of like take it slow. You know, when you are not healed, when you're not healed, you might not have this level of awareness of, wait, am I sharing too much information?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
but you really have to know yourself, evaluate, and take your time in getting to know people.
Yeah, and discernment is a huge thing too. It's discerning who you are around, and even if they have the capacity to contain what you're about to, you know, it's a lot to just dump on someone if you don't know them long enough and you don't know how they're going to react to your stories, and telling them too much too quickly. It can make someone be like, okay, it was cool meeting you. I'm out.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah.
you have to be very careful.
And on the other end of that, you know, to the person receiving it, it might feel like a lot as well.
It is.
You know?
Because from the traumatized person, right? It's fiending for, it's looking for security. It's wanting to be heard, to be accepted, to do all of that. When the other person may be like, yeah, that's way too much. I can't handle that. So how do you respond to that? But then to that person, the traumatized person, now it seems like somebody else just skipped out on them, or just, you know.
Yeah.
So even that can be triggering. It's a
Yeah.
very slippery slope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the moral of the story is be aware, or learn self-awareness. And this is why I think it's so important to spend time with yourself and getting to know yourself, because we like to go straight into relationships.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
it begins in friendships. And if you can't have healthy friendships
And boundaries.
and boundaries, right?
Yeah.
Because knowing yourself is what's going to help you to create those boundaries.
It is. And
Yeah.
it seemed like you were brave enough to reference yesterday. It's having that boundary and feeling safe enough with her to say, hey, I did not appreciate this. But it took years to get there, to even vocalize that, to say, this is a boundary of mine. Please listen when I speak, or at least have conversations with me.
Yeah.
Because I'm not ready to, or if you react this way,
Yeah.
I'm gonna ghost you.
And be able to respond, because
Be able to
let me tell
respond.
you, like she said, I'm going to ghost you, and that's cool, right? But when you get married, you can't just ghost.
Or
you know?
even if the person, without even the marriage yet, if the person ghosts you, how do you
learn.
How do you learn? How do you receive that? Because it could have been like, I go home to Connecticut and I'm now screening my calls from you. It's going to be like, oh, she was a bad friend because, you know,
Yeah.
it wasn't
And I've done
big
that.
of a
I'm
deal.
going to be so
I've
honest.
done that
Y'all,
too.
let me apologize to all the friendships that I could have had.
I was going to do the same.
You know what I'm saying? All the friendships that I could have had, you know, like we love to run to God and be like, well, you know, people only supposed to be in your life for a season. No, if you had confronted some of the issues that you
part.
had, you would have remained friends.
So I'm happy that you mentioned that. And by the way, I second that. I apologize. Some of y'all really needed to go, but for the ones
Some
that
didn't need
needed
to go.
Girl,
Anyway,
that's a whole nother show. Some needed to go, yes, because trauma pulled in some stuff that we needed not to have or to experience or to hold on to. So some we needed to cut. But for the ones that could have been saved or spared, that we did not have the capacity for, yes, in truth and in fact, to apologize for that, to be bold enough to apologize and take full accountability and responsibility to say, yeah, had I been in a different headspace, and that's what I was getting to, having the grace for yourself to understand. I wasn't there. I didn't understand it. I took that to mean, this person didn't respect me, didn't do, and all of these things, the laundry list of reasons we have, when in truth and in fact, it was your little girl showing up in those seasons, you know? So it's extending grace to yourself to say, and how can we now be intentional about being better friends? Having the conversations, right? Being honest and truthful, setting the boundaries and knowing these are my likes and my dislikes. And if your friend is open enough to be sitting and containing that to say, hey, this is why I don't like this. Now, if you say all of that and you keep saying all of that and your friend still shows up like, oh, well, I'm still going to take a Waymo.
Yeah.
When you're in town again, I'm still going to jump in this Waymo, regardless. And I'm not going to say nothing. Now, are you being a bad friend? Yes.
Now you're being a bad friend. So, yeah, I think it's important to understand that and listen. The moral of the story is, stop making friends responsible for healing wounds that they did not create. You just have to make sure that you are being intentional about the relationship that you have and how you're treating them on the other side. And when you sit with yourself, you're going to learn and find out that a lot of the reasons of why you're doing what you're doing is a response to the trauma that you have. And just go deal with it.
That's self-awareness. We started there. We're ending right there because that's pretty much where it comes. Well, we're not ending, but it comes right back to that, being self-aware enough. But how do you even get to that level of self-awareness?
You got to sit
because
with yourself.
a lot of us
That's another
run
episode.
from that part of it, right?
That's another episode, and maybe we'll talk about that later. But for now, we're gonna end it. We're gonna end it there.
Yeah.
We're gonna end it there. What are your thoughts? Your closing thoughts?
My closing thoughts are: friendships done right can be one of the most beautiful things. And Tammy made mention of this earlier, and I wanted to add to that about God being intentional about how he created us. We are beings that need others, but trauma will tell you a different story, right? I can do this by myself. I don't need her. I don't need him. I'm safer this way. No, that's really not what God intends for us. And because of that, we live in isolation. We withdraw so easily. And then that is where you give the enemy a foothold because, you're telling yourself all of these things when truth and in fact, if you are able to show up differently, sit with those things and learn yourself, then you understand really and truly it's not really what's happening or coming out. We need to get to the root of the matter and be able to experience the beauty of having friendships because we were never meant to live in isolation and withdrawal. So if this is where you live, what is the root cause of all of that?
Yeah. Right?
Because it's we tell ourselves that it's good and we're okay, but honestly, are we?
Yeah.
We're not.
Yeah.
We're not. If we're going to be telling the gut honest truth, you're not. Because we were never created to be in isolation.
Never meant to be created in isolation. So y'all, I don't really have anything else to add to that. I thought that was really good. That was really good.
Thank you, friend.
So, thank you, welcome, friend.
That almost killed me in a Waymo, but okay.
Listen. The Bible says that we were tried. going through anyways. But
You know
y'all, the moral of the story is be intentional in doing the work to, find you and use your friendships, right? Like, even the friendships that you have, you're going to go through things. Use those as opportunities to even get to know you.
Yeah.
Because things are going to show up. You can't learn you all by yourself. Friendships are the best relationships to be able to test that.
They're a testing
right? Because
ground.
they bring things up in you. Like, they make you uncomfortable with things, right? So that you can learn how to resolve and work through it. And then how you respond to it, you're training yourself to even respond well so that you can ultimately be a good friend. And so I really value this conversation. And
Just let me say real quick, if you are not able to say to your friend that, hey, this made me uncomfortable, is this a friend?
yeah,
Is it really a friend?
yeah.
It can be a whole lot of other things, trauma,
Yeah.
bonds, all of these things. But if you are not able to genuinely say to your friend, I wasn't happy about that. I didn't like the way you spoke to me
Yeah.
in that moment. If you can't be truthful about that,
Yeah.
you're experiencing something else, not real friendship.
That actually kind of hit me just now real quick because I have a friend. I have a beautiful friend. I have a friend where we're going through some tension. And I wouldn't even say tension.
It's just conflict, disagreements.
I don't know if I would call it that, right? But it's a season shift,
Okay.
right? It's a season shift.
Great way of putting
And
that.
yeah. And one of the things that I realized, because earlier in the conversation I mentioned, like, I mentioned that we're talking about this because dynamics of relationships that I've had has changed.
Yeah.
And it's not a bad thing, right? But what I gathered from that is, why was I not speaking up about me shrinking?
Because you're not
And so I had to realize or figure out the dynamics of why was I holding back?
You weren't feeling safe.
But why wasn't I feeling, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's me having to sit with that and really analyze and process, because I love the friendships that I have.
Yeah.
I think they're beautiful. And I think that, there's always room for growth. And sometimes, you think that you're going to grow with friends. And then you realize that God takes you through a season where you might go through a period where you're not growing together in that way. You're still growing. And then it'll circle back,
If it circles back.
It will circle back.
If it circles back.
It will circle back. You know what I mean? Some friendships will circle back, not all.
Right.
Right? You got to understand the value in the ones that you do have. And sometimes God needs to separate. It reminds me of Paul and, is it Paul and Barabbas? That's his name, right?
What is the
Barnabas,
story?
Paul, Barnabas,
What is the
Barnabas,
story?
Barabbas, where they were having tension and they had to go on different journeys.
Yeah.
They did, but then they circled back, And so when I think about, bad friends, good friends, whatever.
And they told truth to each other.
And they told
about
truth to
hard
each other.
truths. Yeah.
They just had a different way of doing things.
Yeah.
Right? Like one was extreme and one was even more extreme, And so they were still working on God's mission and doing things for God. And they were still going in the same direction. They just had a different view of how to get there, which is fine. And so, they created their own paths and they were doing ministry and they were both doing things and then they circled back.
Yeah.
And I think that's also important is that, sometimes it's not that you're being a bad friend or a good friend. Sometimes it is seasonal in that situation.
Yeah.
Sometimes, right? Because, we mentioned, some of them friends ain't going to circle back. But some of them will circle back, but it's going to circle back with growth and more intention.
That more self-awareness
And more
around
self-awareness.
that, because that's your work. Why was it so easy for you to shrink?
Yeah.
In that situation.
And that's for me to separate, to be able
Yeah.
to now work on me in that particular area so that I can no longer shrink when I'm around people, right?
Right.
So that's me having to get the self-awareness to develop myself to say, hey, I need to find out what's making me do this. Because even if I don't feel safe, I still need to be safe enough with me to be able to speak up.
You definitely do.
Right? So it's one of those, it's a me thing.
And another factor in that is, as we talk about friendships, it's also understanding, yes, to your point, some friendships we're going to circle back to with self-awareness, with prayer, with discernment. It takes work. All of it takes work. But it's also understanding and being okay with some friendships are going to end.
Yeah.
Because you did outgrow each other. And some of us, we have a tendency, especially as trauma survivors, we have a tendency to hold onto things and people, especially if we've known them for extended period, because there's that sense of loyalty, there's that sense of love and all of that. But if you're in a relationship with both parties are not being considered, and again, we can't have that conversations where I'm being held and I'm feeling safe and I'm being heard.
Yeah.
Does the other person in this twosome have the, I do mean friendship. Okay, let me just say that. I know this is a Sex Ed for Saints pod.
No.
So in that twosome, are we holding each other in a safe space?
Yeah.
Like you're able to say this, and I take that into consideration, going back to what I said before. Because you can be saying that, like, listen, I feel overpowered in this relationship. And it's a matter of, oh, well, oh, you're too soft. Step up to my level.
Yeah.
No, we have a disconnect here. And again, those friendships, they run their course. It may take a longer while, but they do run their course.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, they do. And that's how you find out, ultimately. That's how you find out as to whether or not you're going to, grow together or apart, is how you're received on the other end after you have created that vulnerable space and said what you said. So,
and just like in marriages where you got to pray about everything, your friendships included.
You got to pray about that too.
You got to put God in the midst of that too.
Yeah, because after you get our big age, you don't want to listen. It's already hard to make friends. I ain't got time.
I'm tired.
You know, like how much work it takes to develop a friendship, like for real.
And then maintain marriages. It's too much.
Right.
It's a lot.
Because now you got to take it to your husband. That's what I do. I'd be like, husband, let me tell you what's going on. And he'd be like, yeah.
Let's hope the husband can split justice.
That's a whole different Girl, he's just there for a sounding board. He ain't going to respond to nothing.
No, baby, you got to figure it out.
Yeah. He's just going to be like, yeah, okay. What do you think you're going to do?
No, wife, you were wrong.
Yeah.
You were wrong.
Exactly. He ain't gonna never tell me that. Nah, I'm just playing. He will. He's listen. He the first person that'll tell me I'm wrong. I be like, babe, you're supposed to have my back.
Girl. Speaking of which, I think I've lost a friendship, or not even lost, but I pulled from a friendship for that reason too, because I was thinking, you're my friend. You're supposed to have my back. Oh. And you didn't in the situation.
Oh,
but
man.
Yeah, it's It
can go on and on.
It can go on. We're going to need another.
We're going to need another. But y'all, this episode was good. How you feel?
I liked it.
Yeah.
I really I think it was, if not for nothing, I gained a lot out of it.
Amen to that. Amen to that. But y'all, thank y'all for tuning in to this episode. For now, if you guys are watching this, I hope that, one of the lessons that you learned today is that friendships are valuable. Friendships take work. And friendships are practice for the relationship that you are going to have, or even your marriage, if that's something that you're moving towards. And so if you have enjoyed this episode, don't forget to please like, subscribe, and share. Yes. And if you find some lessons in the lessons valuable, just write them in the comments. We want to hear what lessons that you have learned from this episode today.
What's your takeaway?
Thank you for your takeaway. All right, bye.
Thank you for having me, Tams, in the studio.
Of course.
Hey, y'all. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. Now, friends, if this conversation blessed you, do me a favor. Take a moment to leave a review, and subscribe wherever you listen to your podcast, because you already know we need more faith-filled, real conversations like this in the world. And listen, I know you heard a gem today, something that made you pause, something that made you think, something that made you say, woo, this was for me. But friend, it might not be just for you. So go ahead and share this episode with someone who needs to hear it. Send it to a friend, a spouse, a sister in Christ, somebody who's been feeling stuck or silent in this area. Let's spread healing, freedom, and truth one conversation at a time. And until next time, we're going to get candid, but keep it God. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Where hearts get free, learning our bodies with holy therapy. God wrote desire with love in the mix. Sex after saints, Mondays are saints. This the space where hearts get free, learning our bodies with holy therapy. God wrote desire with love in the mix. Sex after saints, Mondays are 6. Mondays at 6, come and sit in this up. Oh, I come and sing this up.